covering a pandemic point of view topic, like women empowerment and gender issues from a pandemic point of view. So let us begin. Come to the slide number 1, that is our English descriptive course. Okay, so this is the lecture 5, and today's topic is women empowerment, gender equality, and I was going to take India at 75, but I've decided that I'll give you the write-up of India at 75 rather than taking it in the lecture. So let's begin with the women empowerment. Okay, so first thing first that we start with is quotes. Now on this topic we have a lot of quotes, so I have still tried to give you only 4 quotes, but there are many quotes on this topic, so you can come up with your own quotes, you can write your own quotes, but these are some of the quotes that I could relate to and I felt like these were the most important ones that you should remember. So the first one is by Pandit Nehru. It is to awaken the people. It is to awaken the people. It is the women who must be awakened. Once she is on the move, the family moves, the village moves, the nation moves. So that is said by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and that is a very important quote when we talk about women empowerment. So I want you all to remember this one quote. Any of the 2 quotes you can remember out of these 4. You can also come up with your own quotes. This is one of the effective way to start your women empowerment topic, because it summarizes everything in just one quote. So the next quote that we have is, I believe that the rights of women and girls are unfinished business of the 21st century. So if you have gone through my essay and the write-up that I gave you, this one quote was also in that write-up. It is again a very important quote, because even in 21st century we have issues like women. We are still talking about women empowerment. So that is an unfinished business of the 21st century. So it is well said and a very important quote again. So this is another way you can start your essay with. The third is, I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which the women have made. So Baba Saheb Ambedkar's quote, very important quote again. So on women and women empowerment, there are many quotes, and you can come up with your own quotes. You can use these quotes. So there are n number of quotes. So you decide which quote works for you the best, depending on the topic that you have. The 4th quote that we have is, a woman with voice is by definition a strong woman. So a woman who has a voice, who can raise her voice, who can give her opinion, is by definition a strong woman. So it explains itself that if you have voice, if you put out your opinions out there, you're a strong woman. So by definition you're a strong woman because you have a voice. So that is also a very strong way to start your essay with. Now second thing, you have to define the term. You have to tell what women empowerment means to you. So you can use the technical words used by Oxford or Webster, any dictionary, or any site that you know, but you have to also come up with your own simple definitions. So women empowerment is such a topic where you can come up with your own definitions. You can tell what women empowerment means to you. So it can mean many things to different people. So you have to come up with your own topic, like what women empowerment means to you. What does empowering women mean? Does it mean giving her decision making powers? Does it mean giving her rights, basic rights, or does it mean making her financially empowered, making her financially independent, giving her education? What does women empowerment mean to you? So you have to come up with your own definitions as to what women empowerment means to you. So there are 2 definitions that I felt were very apt for this topic. The first one is, it mainly refers to the practice of making women independent so that they can take their own decisions as well as handle their lives without any familial or societal restrictions. Right. So I think it is self-explanatory. It is a practice of making women independent. right? We have to make them independent, we have to let them take their own decisions, and there should not be any familial or society related restrictions. So we have to create an environment wherein the women can take their own decisions, and when they do take their own decisions, there should not be any restriction from the family or society. No matter what she decides for herself, she has to have the freedom and she has to have the environment to take that decision forward. So that is what we mean when we say that they need to be made independent, but their decision also needs to be respected. Now the other definition that I have come up with is women empowerment encompasses more than just ensuring that women get their basic rights. So it is more than just ensuring that they get their basic rights. In the truest form, women empowerment comprises of the aspects of independence, equality, as well as freedom of expression. Okay, so this is what these two definitions I felt were important, but there are other definitions also. So while writing about the definition, you can also talk about how to make women empowered in different sectors. May that be financially, may that be education wise, so may that be decision making wise. So you have to decide as to which sectors are important to you when we talk about women empowerment. So you can come up with your own definitions while you are writing an essay on women empowerment. So these are two definitions. The second one, again, it encompasses ensuring the basic rights. Giving them basic rights is important, but with that we have to see to it that they have independence, equality, and as well as freedom of speech. So everything comprises. So when we talk about independence, we definitely mean financially independent, independent to make their own decisions, independent in the sense of expressing themselves. Equality meaning that they need to be given the same opportunities that are provided to other genders. They need to be brought in to the level of the males, and they need to be given the same sort of treatment when it comes to equality. So there are many aspects where we see that women are neglected and women do face some sort of discrimination even today. So that needs to be taken care of, and we need to provide an equal society for them. And freedom of expression means saying what they want to do, doing what they want to do, and expressing themselves in whichever way they want to. So that is freedom of speech. So freedom of speech is also as broad as it can be. Independence again is as broad, and you can interpret it in many ways. Financially independent, decision making wise independent, and all such things. So these are some of the things that you should remember, and you can come up with your own definitions as well, because this topic is something that needs a personal touch, because women empowerment can mean many things to different women, different men. So you need to come up with your own innovative definitions. Now this is one introduction that I would have written, and I came up with this, but I want you all to come up with your own definition or your own story and incident that we have discussed already. That you can write your own story, you can write a story in third person, you can write an incident which shows that this is what women empowerment means to me, or this is what displayed women empowerment for me. So the definition that the introduction that I chose was, it is unfortunate that even today we are still talking about women empowerment, gender equality, even after contributions of great leaders like Savitribai Phule, Jyotiba Phule, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Gandhi ji. We are yet to achieve the goal that was envisioned by them. So even after 100 years or even more than that, we are still not able to achieve what they started, what goal they envisioned. So why? What is it that we need to do? What is lacking? So I would have added 2-3 more lines into this, but I've kept it short. But I hope you get the gist of what I am trying to tell you here. So I would have started it on a negative tone. I would have complained and questioned. So this is my way of starting an essay with a question, or with something so such an unfortunate thing to do, that we still have to write on these topic even after so many years. So that is my way of starting the essay. But I want you all to give in your ways to start the essay. So if anybody is anybody wants to give their inputs as to how they want to start their essay, you can speak now. So I just want to see how you all are thinking, and Atul, you can speak. You can share your introduction. Okay, I think we'll take it at the end. I'll just first finish with what I have to say, and then we can take your inputs as to how you would go about the essay. Now, introduction is done. You can talk about many other things when it comes to introduction. You can talk about pandemic related problems that women face, or you can talk about you can give an imaginary situation as well. You can give an imaginary scenario as well. You could talk about a story wherein you can give any example. Like, I would say Suman lost her job because of pandemic. She was working in informal sector. Then somebody else, you can say Meena lost her job because of pandemic, or she was a domestic help and she could not, go to work because of the lockdowns. So you can give 2 3 names of the women. It is imaginary. The examiner knows that it is imaginary. It is no one related to you. So you can start your essay like this: that she faced this, she faced that problem, the other girl faced this problem. There was a sexual harassment at the workplace. There was violence. There was the crime rate has gone up. She has to take care of the family as well as work. So there is a double burden on the women. So all such things you can start in your introduction, can start in this way also. So you can create an imaginary scenario as well. You can create a story as well. You can just show one incident also, which reflects how women empowerment is still yet to be achieved. So you can also talk about some harsh incidents that have been happening. Still the crime has not gone down. The rape cases have been increasing. So you can talk about some incidents which have moved you, which has touched you, and which you still feel that why these incidents still take place. So you can talk about one incident, or you can talk about n number of different incidents. Like I told you, that Suman lost her job, or Suman was working in informal sector. Then the other person faced sexual harassment at workplace. Some other girl faced this. Some other person faced that. So you can talk about different problems that the girls and the women have faced, and then you can proceed. Or you can talk about one incident that has moved you completely, which has touched you, and then you can proceed. So these are some of the ways you can start your intro with. Now, issues and challenges. So I always tell you to first go to issues and challenges, and first take care of the issues and challenges. Just put issues and challenges there, and then give out the solutions. So I tell you this because you have to end on a positive note, and your solutions and your innovative methods are what that matters. And that is why you should not put issues and challenges at the end, but you have to start with issues and challenges. So once you've written the quote, once you've given an introduction, once you've defined the term, what is left for you to do is you have to start your essay with issues. You have to give out the issues that the topic faces, or the topic is related to. So you have to first talk about the issues and challenges, then you have to give out solutions, and then you have to end your essay on a balanced conclusion, and with something that was already discussed by you in the first para. You have to end your essay with the same gist in the last para. So in the first para, if I talked about why we are still not able to achieve what the leaders had envisioned, I would end in a way, in a manner such as yeah, we have not been able to achieve, but I'm pretty sure, or I'm confident that if we do this, we can definitely achieve it in the coming years or in the near future. So you can end it in that manner, so it shows that you have a link. So your essay becomes consolidated, and it is a composed essay. So the first thing that you discussed is, reflected in the last para of yours, so it is a comprehensive essay. So that is what you can do. So first we talk about issues and challenges, and then we go to the solutions part. Now, what are the issues and challenges? Let's go with the basics. What is the basic issue? The patriarchal mindset, the orthodox thinking. So this has been going on since a long time, and it is still there because people are not made sensitive about this topic. There are not the discussions are less. Also, the other thing is, women keep on tolerating this behavior. They have a let go attitude. They do not raise their voice when they need to, and it is because of the fear, or because they do not have the accessibility to the rights and help that they require, the support that they require when they raise their voice. So patriarchal mindset, orthodox thinking, and some of the women even think that this is right, this is the right thing to do, and this is the right way to live by. So they accept patriarchy, but that is definitely changing. But this is one of the issues, and the most basic issue that we have today in our society. So it leads, what does it do? It leads to male domination and control over women, male privilege, and women's subordination subordinates the status in the society. So simple thing, if we have a patriarchal mindset, women will also accept what the men have said, or what their husbands say, or what their brothers or their fathers say, and they would not even question it. So that is what needs to change at the very beginning. The attitudinal change, the behavioral change needs to happen. So patriarchal mindset and orthodox thinking is the basic thing. You should not miss out on this issue, because this is where it all starts. The second thing, again, now health issues and education, those all the common topics will come in. So health issues, anemia is a very big problem for women. I'll give you the figures. I have the figures. Yeah, I'll give you a write up on the figures of anemia and lack of nutrition and the MMR and everything, but it is not required. The important figures I've covered in this topic, but even if you want the anemia figure, I'll give it to you. So health issues, anemia is a problem, lack of nutrition. So in many households, women are the last ones to eat. So that creates a lack of nutrition. So they do not get the amount of nutrition that they are required. So either they are the last ones to eat, or they eat less because they have to provide for the family. So they see to it that everyone gets to eat as much as they want to, and whatever is left over is eaten and consumed by the women. So that is one problem that we have in our society. So while explaining it in one line, these are the things that you have to mention. So lack of nutrition, then males get more medical care compared to girls. So now this is something that we have seen in surveys, that the accessible males get more access to medical care, because the females do not even go out and seek help or seek medical care. So because of they just have this attitude wherein they're taught to suffer, they're taught to tolerate things and not create an issue out of it. So that is one of the biggest reason why they neglect their health. They neglect going to the hospital, or they are even scared because there's a shortage of women doctors. So many of us do not go to the hospital because in many of the villages there is only one doctor, and he is a male doctor. So girls and females are not comfortable going to the doctors. So these are some of the problems that we face, and that's why they do not get as much medical care that is required, and on the very time that is required. So that is one issue. Then literacy. So according to the census 2011, the female literacy is only 65.5%. which is very less as compared to the men or a general average. But Kerala is a good case study when we talk about literacy, because the literacy rate in Kerala is way higher than the national average. Then e-learning, I've already told you that the girls and the women do not have access to internet or mobile phones. Only around 29% of them are internet users. So that part we have already covered. Then comes the employment. Women constitute only 22% of the labor force in India, which has been again impacted by the pandemic. So this figure is again going to go down due to pandemic. But this is the figure right now. So it's only 22% of the labor force, which is very, very less. So males could be close to 50% and more than that, but females are just 22% of the labor force. So women are taking education, but they are not coming into the labor force. They are not a part of the labor force, and they're not even seeking employment. So this is a very bad thing to see in our society. We need to change that somehow. We are trying to bring in laws and acts which are women friendly, which make women come into the workforce, but still we are not up to the mark, and we still need to do a lot when it comes to bringing in the women into the labor force. So that needs to be done. Other thing is political empowerment. Now if we compare internationally, India is doing very well when it comes to political empowerment. Like, we have a lot of representation in the political field. Especially we have a lot of female sarpanch around the country. We also have the highest right now, the figure that we have in the parliament, the representation that we have in the parliament is the highest till date. So women in India held just 25.2% of the parliamentary seats in 2019. But this is not even close to what we should have been. So it is a good thing that we are increasing it year by year, and every 5 years the figure goes on increasing. But still it is not up to the mark. We need to increase it to a level where there is actual equality in the political empowerment. So the national parties, the political parties need to give representation to women. They need to bring in women into the political arena. So they need to increase, and they need to promote female participation. So many of the political parties have tried to bring in, have tried to give tickets to women, and they have promoted women empowerment. They have promoted women in their parties, but this needs to go on, and this needs to increase. Women also need to come up and fight for their rights. They need to be politically aware. They need to be politically present there. They need to vote. So they need to use their voting rights. So all these things will comprise to women becoming politically empowered. Now, self-help groups are also one of the things which is helping them develop leadership qualities, develop decision making. We have a Panchayati Raj system where we have given 33% of reservation to women. In Maharashtra we have 50% reservation. So all such things are a step forward, and these need to be strengthened, and these need to be increased day by day. So that is one thing that we can do for political empowerment. We have a good figure right now, but we need to increase it because we already it's 2021, and even then we do not have as many women as men. So that needs to increase. Then imbalanced sex ratio, we all know that there is an imbalance when it comes to the sex ratio. That needs to somewhere awareness needs to be created, wherein you give equal respect and equal opportunity to the female girl child, and we need to promote this thing. So there are initiatives taken by different states. Punjab has a very good initiative. Haryana is also at the forefront when we talk about imbalanced sex ratio. So they are taking initiatives. So the Haryana had a worst sex ratio, but now it is increasing, it is improving. So they are promoting female figures from Haryana and from northern India, which especially the sports persons, the sports women have been promoted. Geeta Fogart, all such things need to be done uh, on a country level basis, and that needs to be increased. The sex ratio has to go up because we are already, in the 21st century, we're still talking about imbalanced sex ratio. It is a very unfortunate thing. So we need to take steps when we talk about sex ratio, especially implementation of the laws that we already have in place. So there is a law wherein we have restricted, knowing the sex ratio, but it is not implemented up to the mark. There are still loopholes into the implementation. People do get abortions done. There is female infanticide, there is female feticide. So this needs to stop, and we need to talk about that, and how to, in how to increase awareness, and how to make people more accepting of the fact that a girl child is the future of tomorrow. So that needs to happen. Then crime against women. Now, crime against women has many aspects to it. There are dowry deaths. There is sexual harassment at the workplace. There are crimes in general. So rape, acid attacks, all such crimes. So the crime has been increasing, and it is increased 7.3% from 2018 to 2019. So that needs to be checked. So why is the crime increasing? And especially if you see during the pandemic, the domestic violence cases went up, which is a very unfortunate thing, but the crime is increasing, and we need to do something about this. So what we can do is we have to implement the laws properly. We have to implement the initiatives that we have taken properly. We need to put in awareness campaigns. We need to raise the women's voice. We need to give them support. So the girls who are raising their voice need to be supported by the society. So there should not be victim blaming. There should be more of empowerment and more of support to the woman who has faced such a crime. So if she's coming out and talking about it, we have to support her, and not, and especially when it is about crimes, we have seen that the leadership also talks about the things that they should not say, that there is insensitivity when we are handling such things. So there are statements given out on the way the women was dressed, or the way the women was talking, or so all such things need to stop. So even our political leaders give out statements which are in contradiction to what we are trying to achieve and what we are trying to promote. So that needs to stop somewhere. So we have to promote an ideology, an attitude which is from women centric, women oriented. So sensitivity needs to develop. Then many a times the crimes are not even filed. The FIRs are not written about the crimes. So that needs to happen. The police has to be made sensitive. They need to do their job. They need to be very active while doing their job, like investigation or filing the FIR. So there is also steps that we have taken. We have a zero FIR initiative. So you can file FIR anywhere and in any police station, and that will be transferred to the police station that where the crime was committed. So there are initiatives that we have taken, but there are many other things that we can do when it comes to crime against women, which is increasing, which should have gone down, but it is increasing, which is a very unfortunate thing. So while writing about crime, you have to mention the different aspects of crime that we have seen. As I've told you, dowry deaths, acid attacks, domestic violence, and all such things, sexual harassment at the workplace. So the different aspects of the crimes also need to be mentioned, and we have to mention what we can do about it. So the what we can do about part will come later, but you have to mention what all crimes do happen. Then come to the next slide, which is the constitutional provisions. Now, when we talk about women and all such topics, we need to be aware about the constitutional provisions. So, when we talk about the initiatives taken by the government, we also have to talk about the constitutional provisions that have been provided to us to give us the kind of empowerment that we require, and the kind of the basic rights that women require. So constitutional provision should be the first thing that you mention when we talk about women empowerment, and then comes the initiatives. So Article 14, Article 15, Article 16 have provisions related to women. Article 14 is our right to equality. Then Article 15 has a special provision for women and children. Then Article 16 related to our employment. Article 19 is freedom of speech, again very important. So Article 19 cannot be neglected, because freedom of speech is something which is very basic and very fundamental to women empowerment. Then Article 21. Article 21 is again very important. It has freedom of choice. It has right to privacy, right to good environment, right to health. All such things come under Article 21. So Article 21 also becomes an important article for women empowerment. So whatever I am saying, you have to use these sentences also. The way I say it, so you have to professionally use these sentences. So even if you decide to explain these things, they're self-explanatory. You don't have to explain each and every article, but even if you decide to explain it, you have to explain it in a way as to why these articles are important. You should not define the article. You should not go and say Article 14 means right to equality. You have to explain why right to equality is basic and is fundamental to women empowerment. So you have to say, right, these all articles are basic and fundamental to women empowerment. This is a start to women empowerment. If we actually implement this in letter and spirit, we will definitely be a step forward. We'll go a step closer to women empowerment. Then we have DPSPs, Article 39A, Article 39D, Article 42. These are very few that I've mentioned. There are many more articles you can add to it. Then there is Panchayati Raj. So do not forget to mention Panchayati Raj, because it is a benchmark when it comes to women empowerment. It is a very important thing that we have done from the point of women empowerment. Then that is 33% reservation. So this was a very big step towards women empowerment. The next thing is the schemes. Now these schemes are the very basic ones that we all know. It is Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, one stop center scheme, Ujjwala, Swadhar Griha, STEP, Nari Shakti Puraskar, Mahila E-Heart, Mudra, Stand Up. So you have to take schemes from all the sectors. Do not just talk about one sector. So Beti Bachao Beti Padhao is education and health. One stop center is again violence and health. Then STEP is for your employment and training, for skill training, giving skills to women and making them employable. Nari Shakti Puraskar is again acknowledging the good things that the women have done for women. So Nari Shakti Puraskar is given by our president on 8th of March every year, which is the International Women's Day. Then Mahila E-Heart is a online marketing platform wherein the women entrepreneurs can sell their products, they can market their products. Mudra Yojana is again for employment. The loans are given, collateral free loans are given under Mudra. Then Stand Up is again a very good initiative. Then you have to talk about the acts that we have. So restrict your acts. You can talk about 1 or 2 acts, or you can just say that we also have acts in place. So it depends on what kind of a topic do you get. Do you get women empowerment topic, or do you get gender equality? It depends on that, which acts you need to focus on. So if it's about women empowerment, you can talk about the Domestic Violence Act, or the Nirbhaya Act, or the Disha Act, which has been implemented. Then you can talk about Shakti Bill, which is related to Maharashtra. So all such acts which so it depends on what kind of a topic do you get. So you have to decide your flow of the essay according to the topic that you get. but it's more or less going to be the same. Now, when we talk about women empowerment, the other thing that you need to focus on is the important personalities that have, been the face of women empowerment. So, Savitri Bai Phule is one person you cannot miss out. So त्यांच्याबद्दल तुम्हाला बोलावंच लागेल. You have to give out her contributions because she is I would say the first person who actually talked about women empowerment and feminism, and she's the face of women empowerment. When we talk about women empowerment, she's one person that we have to talk about. There are other people that I've also mentioned: Anandibai Gopal Rao Joshi, Indira Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Mithali Raj, Pratibha Tai Patil, Kalpana Chawla, Kiran Bedi ma'am, Mary Kom. So there are other people also. You can internationally also take the personalities. You can talk about Malala Yousafzai also. You can talk about Greta Thunberg also. You can talk about Nadia Murad also. So whoever you think has inspired you, or who you think is the face of women empowerment, in short, just keep the para for 4 to 5 lines, not more than that. So in 5 sentences, 5 to 6 sentences, you have to just mention the contributions, not the contributions also, but the different women uh, who have who have shown their talent in different fields. So it should not be just one person. You have to show a broad viewpoint. So somebody who's an astronaut, somebody who is into administration, somebody who is into sports, somebody who has done social work. So all such things, there should be a broad, there should be different sectors that you explore when you're talking about the different personalities. And not just women, you can talk about the men who have done a good work for women empowerment. So this is just a few pointers that I've given you, but you can add to these points, and you can skip some point, you can skip some women, you can also add some other women that have inspired you. You can add, as I said, Malala Yousafzai also. So people who are working towards women empowerment, people who have done good work towards women empowerment, you have to mention those people. You have to mention people who have inspired you. You can even just put out a one case study. If one case study is that which has inspired you, you can just give out one case study about women empowerment. So it is not compulsory that you have to write about all the women, but you can also write about one particular women or men who have who you think have contributed to women empowerment. Then how to achieve women empowerment? So gender mainstreaming. What does gender mainstreaming mean? Bringing women into the flow of economy, education, health. So putting them out there. Gender mainstreaming is what this means. So by changing social attitude, now this is very important point. So we have to change the attitude, we have to change the thinking. There has to be an attitudinal and behavioral change when we talk about women empowerment. Without that, we cannot even take one step forward. So without changing the social attitude, there is nothing that we can do about women empowerment. So the very basic thing is that we change the social attitude. We mainstream the gender issues, we bring it into discussion, we debate about it, we talk about it, we create awareness about it. Then educating the women. So we know the literacy rate is not up to the mark even today. So we need to increase the literacy rate. We need to educate more and more women. We need them to take higher education, and not just primary or secondary education, but we need to inspire them. We need to promote higher education. We need to bring them into the flow of higher education as well. Then health need to be made accessible to women. The nutrition part needs to be taken care of. We have Poshan Abhiyan, we have such schemes, and those need to be promoted, those need to be implemented properly. Women and agriculture. Now there are different problems when it comes to women and agriculture. So land property is not in the name of women. That needs to be changed somewhere. They need to have landed property under their name. They need to have some contribution when it comes to agriculture. So they do all the work, but they do not get the kind of credit that they require. So that has led to feminization of agriculture, and also uh, poverty has increased amongst the women when it comes to agriculture and women and industry. Now we have seen that there is pink collarization. So what does pink collarization mean? That women are concentrated in only certain types of employment. So if you see a nurse, if you see nurse, teacher, all these are specifically kept for women. And there is a mindset that women need to either be a teacher or either be a doctor or either be a nurse. So that needs to change somewhere. They need to be brought into different kinds of employment. They need to be given different kinds of opportunities. They need to be brought in uh, into companies, into corporate sector, into the sectors that their representation is not much, into political sector. So that needs to increase. And industry wise, they need to be given the skills that they need. So especially when we talk about technology, so most of the women are not technology savvy, or they do not know how to deal with technology, how to handle the technology and the newer, and so the skills need to be given to them. So time to time the skill training need to happen, and that should happen from the company itself, that should happen in the school itself. So that needs to somewhere change. Then women need to be brought into the workforce. So we have to bring in women at par to the men in the workforce. So women are getting educated, but they are not a part of the workforce. So this needs to change. They need to be given employment opportunities, and they need to be brought into the workforce. So for this, their domestic responsibilities need to go down, and that is why there has to be the share the care principle, which needs to be followed. So for them to come into the workforce, there needs to be sharing of the care and the domestic responsibilities that they have. So that will actually help us bring them into the workforce. And also the work environment needs to be friendly to women. Like sexual harassment at workplace needs to go down. The timings should be flexible for them. They should not have to work late night, or safety and security needs to be taken care of when we talk about bringing them into the workforce. Then political representation, again an important topic, and we need to make them politically aware and politically empowered. Then you can talk about the legal provisions. So there needs to be laws wherein wherein women feel safe and secure. And you can talk about the sexual harassment at workplace laws, or you can talk about the maternity benefits. So they need to be given maternity leave whenever required. Then you have to talk about the different acts, all the acts that we have. So you can talk about the different acts that we have in place and the legal provisions, but also they need to be implemented in a honest manner for us to actually see the outcomes. Now a way forward is again similar to the things that we have already seen, but it is more specific. We have to maintain the education versus the employment ratio. We have to encourage women entrepreneurship, redesigning the workplaces as we have already talked about, bringing women in leadership role, changing the mindset, recognizing invisible work. So recognizing invisible work is again an important point that you should not miss. When I talk about the invisible work, it means that we are talking about the domestic work that women does, but it is not recognized. Okay, we do not have any monetary incentive for it. We do not take it into our GDP calculations, but it is a lot of work that women do on a daily basis that needs to be recognized and that needs to be taken care of. So that needs to be monetized somehow. So providing small necessities is empowerment too. So that is another thing that we need to do. Small necessities, meaning they should have bank accounts on their name. They should have their personal bank account. They need to be brought into self-help groups. They need to be given joint property. There should be a joint ownership of the properties that you have. They need to have some sort of security in the form of property or money or all such things. So that needs to happen. The other thing, now let's come to the specific gender equality part. Now I want you all to whenever there is a topic on gender equality, these figures become very important, especially the first index that I've given you. It's Global Gender Gap Index 2021, and India's rank in that index has slipped 28 places as compared to the previous rank of 2020. So it is 140 on 156, which is really bad. We are actually at the very bottom, so that needs to change. So there is a so this is one figure that you have to mention when we are talking about gender equality. Globally, according to the report, globally it will take 99.5 years to achieve full parity between men and women at the current rate of change. So even after so many years, it's still going to take around 100 years to actually achieve the full parity between men and women. But this is again affected by pandemic, and we do not know in the future how if the rate is going to stay the same. Will the rate of change stay the same? So these are again some of the problems. But there's again it is going to take 100 years, which is a very unfortunate thing. So you have to mention these things. Then the third thing is not that important. It is average income of females is around 1/5 of what their male counterparts are earning. Yes, but you can instead of this you can mention that India's gender pay gap is 34.5%. It is ILO's global wage report. So the figure is an important one. So in the last 2 points you can mention one of the two, any one that you think is appropriate. Now, while writing about gender equality, I have always told you to be very broad in your writing. You have to write about the problems of transgender. You have to write about the problems of transgender LGBTQ plus, whichever way you put it, and you have to write about the initiatives that government has taken so that we, make it inclusive for all the genders. So you can talk about the forms that are given out. Now in every form it is compulsory for you to mention the third gender or others. So that was done by Delhi government as well. That has been done by other governments as well. So you have to mention the small initiatives that have been taken. Now there is a welfare scheme in different states. I think even in Maharashtra we have some welfare schemes. There are rules. There are transgender protection of rights rules. 2020 there is a national council. So there are all such initiatives which have been taken by the government and which are happening at a state level, at a national level as well. So you have to talk about, so whenever we talk about gender equality, please talk about a broad perspective and talk about all the genders. Be inclusive in your approach and be very broad in your approach when you talk about gender equality. So that is one thing that you should not miss when we are talking about gender equality. Now let's come to the gender dimension in COVID. Now I will tell you a few things which are from COVID point of view. So this is one thing that I found, and I think you can use this somewhere in your essay whenever we are talking about gender equality. And now even if they give you a simple term like gender equality, you have to have a dimension from COVID point of view. In every topic that we see, you have to have some point of view from COVID related topic. So when we talk about gender equality, you have to talk about the coronavirus, which affects men more than women. Yes. So come to the slide of gender dimension in COVID. It's coronavirus seemingly affects men more than women, yet the pandemic will harm a whole generation of women in ways we can only imagine. So this is because there are different problems that women have faced. Impact of the COVID has amplified the pre-existing gender differences across different sectors like health, education, employment. Now how this is affected is covered in the next slide. So livelihood and job security. So women are mostly employed in the informal sector, and the informal sector was affected due to the COVID, and that's why women are at a higher risk of losing their jobs, of losing their livelihood, and of exiting from the workforce permanently due to this very reason. So livelihood and job security, then feminization of poverty. Now if they do not have jobs, if they do not have a source of income, definitely poverty is another thing that will hit them very hard. So according to the World Bank also, the women are going to be a majority when it comes to the new poverty and the new poor due to the pandemic. So there is going to be feminization of poverty. There is enhanced social inequalities in the sense that there is a burden of domestic responsibilities, plus they have to look after their job. So they have to work from home, but they have to work for home as well. So that is one thing that happened during the COVID. Increased instances of domestic violence. Now this is one thing that we have mentioned, we have discussed many times. The other thing that happened was health services were not available due to the lockdown measures, due to the social distancing. So nutrition also suffered due to the COVID. So they could not get the proper nutrition because the income of the family itself went down. So nutrition became a problem for the women. Nutrition, they're the last ones, as I said, they're the last ones to eat, and they make sure that the family eats before them, and when that happens, they are the ones who suffer due to the nutrition, due to lack of nutrition. So that happened during the pandemic. Then additional burden of care. So they had to take care of the children who were not going to school because the schools were closed. They had to take care of the domestic responsibilities. They had to also take care of the elderly people in their house because the house help was not there, or there were many things that contributed to their additional burden of care. And when we talk about the education part, the girls suffered due to the lack of internet, lack of devices to use the internet, lack of devices to get e-learning. So education wise, the girls and the women suffered. So these are some of the topics that are from the gender dimension point of view. Now, what is the way forward? Now, way forward, you can write about the initiatives taken across the world. We have already talked about the way forward. The same way forward can be used here. The women empowerment topic, whichever way forward, like changing the social attitude, making people sensitive towards it, making the people aware about women rights and about gender rights, that can be also written here. So all those topics, all those things that we have already discussed in women empowerment become relevant for gender equality as well. Just do not miss out on the inclusive part wherein you talk about the LGBTQ community as well. Then there are other things that you can mention as case studies. Now there was one case study that I came across. So Japan had done this. So they came out with a concept of womenomics. What does womenomics means? So they brought in laws which were women centric. They made the work environment very friendly for women so that they feel safe while working, they feel secure while working, and they increased the workforce, the contribution of women in the workforce. The percent of women in the workforce increased from 66% to 76%. So when they brought in laws, when they made the labor laws women centric, the women's percentage in the workforce increased. So that is what womenomics means. So they have seen to it that women do not hesitate from participating in the workforce just because they do not feel safe or they do not have the proper services like child care services or maternity leaves. So all these things were promoted on a large scale, and that is how the Japan conquered this thing, and they have increased their percent of women in the workforce. Now the other thing that everybody should follow is women supporting women. So many a times we have seen that women do not support women. So it could be your in-laws or your mother or your sisters or your friends. So there are many a times that people question your decisions, and it's the women questioning your decisions, and that is the worst thing that could happen to us. So we have to see to it that women support women, and there is support from everywhere, not just from men, but women are also supporting women when it comes to talking about women empowerment. The other thing that you can mention is encouraging women into the non-traditional vocation like driving, hospitality. I've already talked about pink collarization. So women are expected to work as teachers, nurse, doctors, but that needs to change. There need to be more number of engineers, which is changing definitely, but we need to bring them into the flow of a workforce which is not women centric. So we need to bring them into the non-traditional vocations so that their representation increases in all the sectors and they become comfortable being in that very sector. Now, while talking about these things, you have to also mention, because it is gender equality, we have to also mention the problems faced by the men. So do not be very female centric, have a very balanced opinion. We have to definitely talk about women and LGBTQ more. We have to talk about women because they have faced discrimination since the very beginning. But we have to not neglect the fact that even men face some problems, and there are false cases and false accusations against men. So women should not misuse their rights and should not exploit the other gender. They have to be sensitive to men's rights as well, and there are problems that are faced by men as well. So we have to talk about those also. So in 2-3 lines, you have to also mention that you are aware that men also go through some problems, and there are things that we need to do when we talk about men as well. So mention those things. That shows that you are you have a holistic approach when you are talking about anything. It shows that you are sensitive to any and every gender. So you have to talk. So do not miss out on talking about how men also face some problems and how they also need to be given opportunity to talk about. It could be the minors as well, and it could be the men in general also. So also talk about their rights, and also see to it that you talk about how we can reduce the misuse by women so that they do not accuse the innocent men and all such things. So in 2-3 lines, you have to mention how we have to be very responsible. Now that we have been given rights and we have our rights, we should not misuse those rights just to take revenge, or just because we are given we are given such rights. So that is important, that you have a very holistic approach while writing an essay on gender equality. So talk about this thing also, and talk about, obviously we are going to talk about the women's problems and women's related issues, but we have to also acknowledge the fact that men also have some issues, and men also face some problems, and men also go through this defamation case and false accusations. So mention those things. Now, topic for practice is gender equality. I've not made anything complicated. It's a simple topic, gender equality. Explore it the way you want to, interpret it the way you want to, but keep practicing. So all your queries, all your doubts are only related to practice, and it is only lack of practice that you are having such doubts. So once you start writing, once you keep practicing, all these doubts that you have about not being comfortable with English, not being good at grammar, all these doubts are going to be cleared only by practicing. So keep practicing.